5. I'm here with Polly. Hello, Polly.
Hello, Hannah.
Polly's just finished the 12-week course with me, the Exhausted to Energize method, and she kindly said that she'd share her experience with you, hoping to inspire some of you to take action and to feel better with your own health as well. So, Polly is a mum of your daughter's 3. Is that right, Polly?
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
3 and very lively.
Like they are at 3, aren't they?
Mm.
And could you tell us a little bit about what was your health struggles, Polly?
Well, for a long time, approximately 13 years, I suffered from severe fatigue, especially in the afternoons and evenings.
Yeah.
Insomnia, severe as well. Anxiety and depression most days. It was a really big struggle to get through each day.
Yeah. And so how did it affect you then? Like, I think you needed to take rest. Was that right?
Yes, I had to have about an hour's rest every day at around lunchtime to make it through the afternoon and evening.
Yeah. And so how did that make you feel, like living like that for so long?
It just really took all hope out of me because I felt so down. I felt so demotivated, and I just, my self-esteem got really low as well. Just completely dominated my life, those kind of feelings.
Yeah. And do you know why it began?
It began because I'd been on antidepressants for quite a long time, approximately 9 years.
Right.
And then I came off them. I successfully withdrew from them slowly with a lot of expert help.
Yeah.
Which was great. And I thought I would feel great afterwards, but it sort of left me feeling really exhausted and drained. And I've just never been able to fully recover from that. But I think there were other issues at play as well as the tranquilizers and the antidepressants.
Yeah. And so you also mentioned that's your fatigue. You also mentioned anxiety and depression. So what was the kind of symptoms of that for you? Because it's different for everyone.
So the depression, I just felt really, really sad all the time. And like I couldn't motivate myself to do anything. Everything felt really hard, like I was wading through mud to achieve everything. The anxiety, I didn't get panic attacks, but I would feel very, very frightened about any little thing that I felt out of control with, just ordinary everyday things. It was always the worst case scenario that I jumped to. So just, very negative.
And would you be happy to share, because I'm sure there's people who's watching this now who maybe they're on antidepressants and they'd love to come off, and you said there that you managed to come off them yourself with expert help. Was that with your doctor's help?
No, it wasn't primarily my doctor. It was a charity that I'm actually now a trustee of, called Bristol Tranquilizer Project. They do only help people in the Bristol area, but they are real experts at what they do. So they've all been through it, and they know exactly how to advise you on withdrawal, probably a lot better than a GP, although it's always good to go to a GP first when you're considering doing this, of course.
Polly, I never knew that. I'm so glad that I just asked that question. What a brilliant resource to share.
Sure, yeah.
And that's something that you're involved in now, so you obviously feel very passionate and very strongly about it.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
That's amazing. So could you share a little bit about the insomnia? Has that been going on as long as like the anxiety, the depression, the fatigue? Has that been kind of running alongside?
Yes, it has. Yeah.
And the insomnia was quite, I would say, chronic for you. Like, share with us how much sleep you was getting like regularly each night.
I was probably getting on average, it would be maybe 3 to 4 hours. That's the average.
Yeah.
So on a bad night, it could be 1 or 2 hours.
Yes.
A bit better than that, very rarely. But very difficult to
So
function.
quite a lot of health challenges going on, and gosh, we all know from just one disrupted night's sleep how awful it makes us feel, how you kind of like crave carbs and you feel snappy and irritable. So for that to keep going on for so many years, you must have been feeling awful day to day, was you?
Absolutely, yeah, felt terrible. It drained me completely of my strength, and you're right, it did make me feel quite irritable and snappy as well, because I didn't have any patience for anything. Yeah, it was really, it just felt like torture. Like I said, it was terrible. I don't know how I made it through so many years.
Yeah, we surprise ourselves when you look back at your own situation. You surprise yourself, don't you? And so what was it like to parent when you feel like that? Like, it's hard enough to get through the day when it's just you, but when you have someone to look after as well.
Yes, well, yes, with a parent, being a parent, you can't switch off, obviously, like I used to. And it was really hard with my daughter because I did have to be on duty all the time.
Yeah.
I wanted to interact with her and play with her more, but unfortunately, just many times of the day, I was so exhausted and miserable that I just had to just watch her and leave her with some toys in front of me because I literally couldn't do anything, which made me feel very sad, obviously.
And honestly, you are not the only mum who's ever done that. I'm sure every single mum here in this community is going to have done that at some point with their children. But it doesn't make you feel good, does it, about yourself?
No.
Yeah. And so what kind of like diet was you relying on? Because I can imagine if I was getting like, 1 hour sleep or 3 hours sleep a night, I think I'd just be living on biscuits by that point. What was your diet like?
Oh, pretty terrible. Lots of processed foods for my meals because it was quick and easy. Although I did make an effort for my family.
Yes.
I would have a lot of chocolate bars, cakes, crisps occasionally. There's the sweet stuff to give me a momentary high to help me cope for a few more minutes.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. You were sharing that your diet wasn't great, although you was still cooking for your family. Let's dive into that just for a minute, because it's really, really interesting. As mums, we do have that kind of like nurturing instinct where we do want to look after others, especially our family, but we don't give the same to ourselves because we kind of run out of steam to do it. Is that how it felt for you?
Yes, that's right. Yes, I was just so concerned with making sure they ate well that yes, I just had no energy left, obviously, after making the effort to bother with myself, even though I sort of wanted to eat better food deep down, but couldn't manage it.
Yeah. And so you shared that you were exhausted, you were stressed, you was depressed, you were sleep deprived. And when we actually spoke, so this was 12 weeks ago, you said to me then, you said, I can't live like this anymore. You was like, you were so desperate at the time. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. Yes, absolutely.
So living like that for, did you say 13 years?
Yes, a very long time.
What had you tried? You must have tried things. What had you tried over the time to try and change it?
I had been to the doctor several times for a full set of tests to try and discover what was wrong. But they came up with one or two vague things, but it didn't seem to fully explain, because it was just, just a slight, how do you say, slight deficiency of certain vitamins. And they said, well, really, you're okay, mostly, and they weren't concerned after the test. So I sort of left it and thought, oh, no, what do I do? And I think because I was so down on myself, I didn't try terribly hard to investigate more medically, although I thought it might be psychological a bit more. So I had a lot of counselling over the years. But that didn't really ever solve the exhaustion problem, and deep down I knew something wasn't quite right. I went for tests for chronic fatigue syndrome as well, but they said I didn't have that, which I really thought I did, and then they said no. So yeah, I just, after that, I just was really demotivated, and I just thought discouraged really, and I just thought I just kept going as I was, even though I felt terrible, which seems unbelievable.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so what made you decide to take the plunge to, you know, try the 12-week program, try something natural, try looking at your diet? What was like your mindset around trying something so different to what you tried before?
Well, the thing that changed for me is during lockdown, I felt even worse than I did normally.
Yeah.
And I just reached such a rock bottom that I thought I really need to look into, you know, what the problem is. And I want to look into it in a more natural way
Yeah.
to heal the core issues. And I didn't trust the doctors anymore at that point. So I thought, right, I'm going to look for natural. And I was browsing Facebook one day, I saw your advert, and I
Yeah.
thought, great.
So we had a chat, but there must have been, I would imagine, things going on in your mind where perhaps you was thinking like it wouldn't work for you or you wouldn't be able to do it. Was there any thoughts like that?
A little at times, because I didn't know at the beginning if anything would help after such a long time of feeling so ill. But I thought, I've just got to try something else. I've got to try harder. I can't go on like this. So I just thought I would take a risk, because eating, it can't do me any harm to
Yeah.
change my diet, that's for sure.
Yeah. And did you have the support of your family to do that?
Yes, I did. Yes, they were all very concerned about me, so they wanted me to get better and pursue whatever I needed to do that.
Yeah. And then, so can you share with us some of the things that you've learned along the way that have been able to help you? Like, at what point did you notice that your energy was starting to improve?
As early as week 2, I would say, and that was breakfast week, when I started eating the high protein, fat, fiber breakfasts. And after a few days of doing that every morning, I suddenly noticed that I had more energy in the afternoons. I just could concentrate better. I felt happier, and in the evenings too.
Yeah.
So that was great, and that was a really big encouragement early on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And what other things have you noticed that have been able to improve your energy?
Well, I suppose I've gone on eating the lunches and the dinners, which has probably made even more difference. And I've also, there are some techniques in the course for meditation. There are some meditations, and I tried them, and they've been really helpful in sort of calming me down, relaxing me if I've got too stressed. And that actually in turn gives me more energy as well. So it's great.
Yeah, you've really embraced some of the holistic tools.
Yes.
And I always ask a few questions at the beginning of the course, like mark yourself out of 10. And I remember you put about your diet before that you felt like you was about a 4 out of 10 for how healthy your diet was. And I just had a look at your final scores, and you put that you feel like you're about a 9 out of 10 now with diet. So do you feel, it sounds like you feel like you've come on leaps and bounds with your diet now. Would you agree?
Oh yes, totally. Yeah, it's unrecognizable compared to what it was before. It's got so many more fresh food, vegetables, much more protein. It's brilliant, and it's all freshly cooked.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and you said that you've got your enjoyment back a little bit in the kitchen, and that you are making an effort for you now. So is that a big turnaround?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes, and now I think to myself, well, what exciting meal can I make today? Try one of the new recipes, and it is just really, I've got the fun back in cooking, and the just the pleasure, of doing it is brilliant.
I'm so pleased to hear that. So how do you feel that it's like, how's it affecting your life having more energy in, you said to me before we started recording that you've almost got as much energy in the late afternoon as you do in the morning now.
Yes.
So how's that affecting things? Like, what more can you do? What are you doing with that energy? How is life better for you?
Oh, it's great, because like I said, I really wanted to be able to interact with my daughter more in the afternoon. And now I can just sit and play with her properly, you know, do whatever she wants to do, even if it's a little bit active, like dancing around.
Nice.
That's brilliant. It's yeah, that's the best bit, really.
Oh, I love to see that smile spread across your face. We know it's genuine.
Yeah.
And how are things like anxiety and depression now? Like, do you feel that working on your gut health and getting the good foods in is helping your outlook, your mood, your mental health?
I think it's given me a much more positive mindset, because obviously if I've got more energy from eating well, I'm just happier and I can concentrate better. So, you know, I'm able to reason a bit more if I get anxious now and just think it's not the end of the world. You know, I feel like I control those negative emotions a bit more now, and yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And then let's talk about your insomnia, which has been a bit up and down throughout the course, but we've seen some really, really big improvements, although we need to get that consistent now. So I think it was just a couple of weeks back that you shared that you'd had 3 nights in a row where you'd got 6 hours each night, and you were saying like how transformed you felt, which of course, compared to getting like 3 hours, of course you're going to feel amazing getting 6 hours. So for anyone who's like really, really struggling with insomnia, can you share a couple of the things that helped you have those much, much better night's sleeps?
Yes, I would say the Epsom salt baths helped a lot, a higher dosage, and you just sit and relax in them for just 20 minutes. And that just before bedtime was really good when I did it. And also the meditations at lunchtime instead of doing my nap just really calmed me down and relaxed me, and probably led to better sleep.
And so before, when you felt like quite, you used to share that you felt quite helpless, do you feel like now that you like are on the road to recovery and that like there is light at the end of the tunnel?
Oh yes, I really feel like this is the beginning of something really good. This is a really important step forwards, and I just know it's going to go onwards and upwards if I keep moving forwards and doing the right things to help myself.
Yeah. And I think a last point to raise is we had a little bit of discussion during the 12 weeks about what was going on mentally. So you did say before you felt like it might have been more psychological. And we addressed that a little bit in the course about some things that, you know, might be holding you back, or like limitations, or, you know, limiting beliefs. Could you share with us a little bit about that journey, that experience with us?
The limiting beliefs.
Yeah, like digging into maybe like what was holding you back, or what you believed, you know, was keeping you stuck.
Oh, sure. Yes. Well, I suppose it was mostly that I just thought, oh, I've no idea how to get better. I'm probably really mentally unwell. Just feeling that I'm not quite worth it anyway.
Okay, And do you still feel like that?
Sometimes a little, but a lot less so. Definitely. It's really helped me to be more positive.
So what's the key, just for anyone else who's watching this who feels the same, like I can't do it, or I'm not worthy? What's the key to changing that? You've done lots over the last 12 weeks, but is there just one thing, or maybe 1 or 2 things that you could say is real key for anyone else wanting to turn it round?
I'd say try the breakfasts in the morning. That really makes a difference. And I suppose try the meditations.
You've mentioned that a few times, so they're the real things that made the big difference for you. That's been so useful. Thank you so much, Polly, for sharing your experience and coming back on when we had the little tech difficulty there. That's been absolutely brilliant, and I can't wait to watch you keep blossoming and continuing your health journey.
Sure, thank you very much.
Thanks, Polly. See you soon.
Okay, bye then.